because you don't see behind the scenes. And I think people, they see somebody succeed, they see the success, and they're like, well, they didn't have it as hard as I
Welcome
did.
to Behind the Frame, where we go beyond the LinkedIn bios and Instagram highlight reels to talk about what really happens when you're building something from scratch. I'm Jay Duffy, co-founder of Frame Wealth Partners, business owner, husband, dad, and guy who still wonders if winging it counts as a legitimate growth strategy. Spoiler, it does sometimes. Join me and my amazing co-hosts, Morgan Watson and Annette Quigley, as we sit down with someone who's built a business or is knee-deep in the messy middle of it. And we talk about the real stuff, the pivots, the late nights, the wins no one celebrated, and the lessons no one warned them about. So grab a coffee or something stronger. We're going behind the frame.
So welcome back, everyone, to Behind the Frame, episode 16, I think, maybe wrong. Again, my name is Morgan Watson. I'm here for my partner, Annette Quigley. This is really where we sit around and talk honestly about running and surviving a business ownership, and what it takes to grow a successful business. Before we get started, Annette, let's talk a little bit of, as we always do at the beginning, our weekend wins, where we either had a big win, a moment of unintentional wisdom, or, hey, I'm too old for this.
So my weekend win was I wanted to celebrate my younger sister's birthday. So the family went up, and for the first time we attempted snow tubing. So my weekend win was I did it successfully without perishing. So I'm going to take that as
No
a
broken hip.
no broken hip. And it was really my moment of kind of wisdom was, you get to a certain point in life where you're like, am I too old for this? And my moment of wisdom was, you just don't know until you try. So it was amazing. We had a wonderful time. And now I can put that I've snow tubed in the book. So I'm happy.
Very nice. Very nice.
How about you?
Yeah, mine was interesting. So my wife, Mary Dawson, and our youngest, Russell, had a church retreat for the weekend. So they were gone. My daughter's lacrosse team actually played at Maryland this weekend. So I drove down for that. And the rest of the time, it was me, the dog, and an empty house. And that was the weekend win. It was warm enough to kind of get in the garage and start reorganizing everything, and go out, get a nice dinner, sit at home with a fire, and just relax. So it was that was my weekend win.
Nice.
I feel kind of selfish that they had everything going on. I had nothing, but I'll take it.
Little victories. Got to celebrate
Absolutely.
those.
Absolutely. Robert, how about you? Any weekend wins?
Sure, I'd love to share it with you. The Friday, Saturday, I actually took a memory and marketing course.
Okay.
And I almost forgot to be here, but I'm just anyway, so I took marketing and memory course, and it was incredible because the clarity is that you're never too old to try to remember things, to improve or increase your memory. And I thought, because I'm sitting there, I remember one of the things, I won't be able to do it right now, they told us how to count the Japanese in 10. And I remembered you have to use body parts and different things like that. So it was really cool.
Neat. Very
Interesting.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, listen, we're really excited to have you today. Today we're joined here by Robert Commodari, a varied background. So real estate, owned a real estate firm, author, podcaster, speaker. I really want to kind of dig into not so much the real estate side of it, really the podcast, the author, and the speaking. You really, name of your podcast is Chiseled, and you talk about how we're all kind of a work in progress, and whether that's, kind of fighting leadership and ambition and different things. So really want to kind of dig into that, if that's okay.
Sure, I'm looking forward to that.
Great.
So I'm going to start it off. I had a question. Really, what was the kind of the catalyst where, Chiseled came to be, and that you thought, well, I think about these things. I want to go public with it and talk about these things and make it, kind of wrap some structure around it. So kind of when did that happen?
It's a phenomenal story for me that I can share with you, and it's very spiritual. So every morning I get up, I pray, I read scripture, and I journal, and I get to a place where I meditate, and I call it contemplation. And I've been doing it for several years. And I had been thinking and toying with the idea of doing a podcast, although I had no idea what I was doing or was about to do. And I gave a presentation in March of 21 on a Thursday on Zoom. And in the middle of that presentation, I stopped dead and I said, listen, everybody, I'm not the judge or jury here. I'm just a work in progress. Friday, the next day, I was given a separate presentation on Zoom. Did the same thing in the middle of the presentation. I stopped and said, I'm just a work in progress. So that's Thursday and Friday. Saturday morning, I got up first thing before I did the prayer and the reading. I listened to this YouTube piece by Matthew Kelly. It was during the Lenten season, and he had this person doing a presentation, and she stops dead in the middle, and she says, I'm just a work in progress. So now it's 3 times. I've said it twice and I heard it once. Right after that, I went to my chair to get into my meditation place. And as I'm meditating, as I'm quiet, all of a sudden my heart starts to beat pretty rapidly. And I just felt the words work in progress, just playing on my heart. And I kid you not, I just felt this tingling coming up my legs and my gut and my chest. And I just saw a vision of a half chiseled statue of David. And I opened my eyes and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, God. Are you asking me to do a podcast, call it Chiseled, because we're all a work in progress? I have no tech skills. Well, not, I guess a little more now, but I didn't have any tech skills at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. I opened my eyes, I'm start talking out loud. And I'm like, God, look, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. I just need you to bring me to people because I have no clue what I'm doing and I have no idea who I'm going to talk to. Here we are 5 years later.
Wow. So when you first started, obviously it's grown quite a bit, and you've got
126.
yeah, 126 episodes so far. What was the initial start and kind of topic, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, great question. Because I didn't know what to do at first, I thought it might be just a monologue. Like I would just come to the table and I'd bring different topics, whether spiritual, business, or whatever. And I remember doing the first one and I'm like, somebody listen to me talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes by myself is probably going to be pretty boring. Then I decided, hey, I'm going to start interviewing people. And like I said, when I first made that quote unquote deal with God, you bring me to people and I'll keep doing it. And so it's just been one person after another. And when you first start doing it, you're like, all right, who am I going to get? Who's going to want to talk to me? Who can I interview? And the people just keep coming.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw you've had from business owners, I believe people kind of in the church group, but security for music professionals. It's been interesting to see that kind of the diversity of who you've brought in.
Yeah, just because everybody's got a story. Yep. You have a story, I have a story. And when it first began, my thought was, I'm just going to be a conduit. I'm going to be a conduit to share everybody's story. And I remember I was about 2 years in. I'm a slow learner. I was about 2 years in, and I was in the middle of a podcast, of an interview, and I just felt this knock on my head. I'm like, you're not just a conduit. I'm chiseling you in the process. So I realized I was getting chiseled. I'm learning, I'm experiencing things, I'm learning how to ask the next question, coming from a place of curiosity. And so it's been great. And like you said, it's been a plethora of different genres, maybe, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
And it's just whoever's got a story. But at the end of the day, how are you getting chiseled to be the best person you're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't watched all of them, not all 126, but the ones that I have watched, I feel like you touch on some more sensitive topics that a lot of leaders will choose to avoid. So, talk a little bit about that because you're willing to be, as you said, raw and honest and just, kind of, even if you reach one person or two people out there with your message, do you feel, like you said, you asked and they came, but are there certain things that, topics that you still want to explore that you're trying to, reach out and connect with certain people on, or it just kind of comes through osmosis?
Osmosis, or as I would say, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, right? That's what I believe. And like you mentioned, the guy in charge of the music security, that was a crazy story. The guy's running a show, running all the music and sound systems. He goes to take a run. Next thing you know, he's getting chased by a cartel, shooting at him. He jumps off a cliff, almost dies, goes 16 hours through the night, falling in aloe bushes, getting thorns all over him. And he comes out alive. And the question was, what pulled you through that? And some people, let's face it, we're in a business world. Some people don't like to mix spirituality with business. They don't. They're not comfortable with it. And I've grown to learn that I think there's spirit around everything, whether you call it the Holy Spirit, energy, the source, whatever. I'm a God guy. I'm a Holy Spirit guy. And it's there. It's there all the time. And you just got to be tuned in to listen to it and know that the voice is talking to you. And you have to, it makes you become more aware of your surroundings, is what's going on.
Yeah. Kind of the impetus for us, we do a lot of work with business owners. And what we find is most successful people can really look back and say, here are those really strategic mentors that help us kind of make the jump, make these new things. And I've obviously see that in your business as well. But that mentorship's important. For us, this was an outlet to kind of maybe give mentors to people that don't have immediate access to them. And I was looking through some of your videos and podcasts when you talk about, how when you first really recognize that ambition sometimes can become unhealthy. Because again, for business owners, it's about success, right? It's about succeeding. How do we grow this? How do we make this bigger or better? But sometimes we can lose ourselves in that.
Interesting you brought that up, because just this morning I was thinking about ambition and contentment, right? Because ambition, if you have this ambition for the wrong reason, then I think that could get you, I'll use the word, of trouble. So what is the ambition? And I like the word, what's the essence? What's the essence of why we do what we do? So what's the essence of your drive to be successful in your business? Is it just to say, hey, I'm number one, I was the best this, I did the most deals, I made the most money? That may be some people's goals, and my opinion is that could be a little shallow, okay? But what is it that you're going to do with the success that you build? That, I believe, is where that word essence comes into play.
Yeah, we say all the time, kind of saying we say around here quite a bit is great ambition and success without contribution is without significance. So for us, it's success and ambition is great, but significance and what you give back is really, really important. Again, that was another reason we kind of started this, was trying to be significant in people's lives. I think as an industry, that's what we do quite a bit as well.
I love that. Can I jump in on that? Oh, yeah, I love that, because ultimately, I think my opinion is that we should all want to be in a place of significance, contribute, make not just do well for ourselves, but contribute and make others better and help to contribute to their significance. And there's this sequence that I've learned in life. It's survival, stability, success, and significance. And a lot of us, when we start something, no matter where we are in life, we're in survival.
Yep.
Because let's face it, when you first start something, you probably suck at it. Yeah. But you're going to get better. It's the worst you're going to be, and you're going to continue to get better. But what takes you from survival to stability is just a change of habits. It's just a change of habits. And then from stability to success is a change of mindset. And then finally to significance, it's a change of heart. And when we get to that place where we could change our heart and really be intentional about helping other people, you can't go wrong.
Nope, I agree.
And it's funny you say that, because we counsel a lot of our clients on that people make decisions more with their emotions and their heart, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision. And then sometimes you have to deal with the consequences of that. So you can kind of proactively weigh, make an informed decision along the way. I think that helps. So obviously you've authored several books and you have Chiseled. Would you say more that Chiseled kind of influenced the books, or the books influenced, Chiseled, or a little bit of both? And I guess what did, you becoming an author, what did that really reveal about you, and your journey? Like, what did you learn about yourself during that experience?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I wouldn't say one influenced the other, because I feel like they were all influenced by God. But what I learned from the book, I'll go back to that. We all have a story, and some of us maybe are insecure or don't think our story is good enough to share or to impact somebody else. But if you think your story is not big enough, strong enough, or impactful enough, it only takes one person to influence, impact, inspire. It only takes one. So it may not inspire the millions, but all I need to do is inspire one. And when I wrote the book, the title of the book is Better Than You Think, Developing Awareness to Live a More Fulfilling Life. I think we all would like to live a fulfilling life. And so the premise of the book was to share stories. There are stories of my life, what the lesson was, and how I can use that going forward. But the idea is for the reader to read these stories, not as somebody else's story, but how can that resonate, or how similar is it to a story that they experienced, but they can get the lesson out of it. And then all of a sudden, a light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
And now they're like, I get it. Because I would bet that there's a lot of stories in the book, but I would bet there's at least one story that would resonate with everybody. It's a different story for each person, but it's going to resonate. So that happened. But what I found was listening to that voice inside is what guided me through the book, and it's guided me through the podcast. And I've learned to recognize and become aware of when that voice is talking to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important. We see this often with business owners trying to separate what I do with who I am, and that's a big part of it. But let me ask you, what's maybe one of those misconceptions that people have about high achievers? Maybe that the public sees or guesses their perspective on it that maybe we don't see when you kind of look behind the curtain.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that come to mind when you said that. First is that high achievers don't struggle.
Yep.
I think because you don't see behind the scenes, and I think people, they see somebody succeed, they see the success, and they're like, well, they didn't have it as hard as I did. We all have it hard.
Yeah.
The success is the reward for the hard work and the struggle and the challenge along the way. But the other thought I had, and you talked about the misconception, is I think people lose their identity in themselves because they put their identity in what they do.
Yep.
And how much they succeed.
Yep.
And I think that's a mistake. I like to say there's two types of identity theft. It's the one that somebody steals your social security number and does whatever they do with it. And the other identity theft is the one we allow when we don't live into our own identity, and we try to live into the identity of what somebody else wants us to be or somebody else we want to be.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have someone listening now that, quietly is struggling with finding that balance and basically being a workaholic because they do want to proudly say, I can, put food on the table and send the kids to college and be ambitious, what is your message that you would give to that person who's kind of quietly, struggling? Because again, it's you're not supposed to complain. You're supposed to be happy because you have money rolling in and you're paying the mortgage. So it's any message that you have for that person.
I think the question you need to ask yourself is what's in your heart? What's in your heart? I think you've heard growing up, I want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
And if you want to be like Mike, are you bearing your own gifts and talents and abilities, and are they locked up in a cage inside your heart because you truly didn't believe in yourself or in the gifts that you were given, but somebody said, oh, I got to be like Mike, or I want to be like Karen or Susie, or look like this, or have this much money. And I think people get lost in the idea that everybody has gifts and abilities, and it's like, if you're struggling, find out, get in silence, get in quiet time, whether it's meditation or just quiet time. And when you think of something, an idea, a talent, a gift, whatever, pay attention to if you feel that humming in your heart, like the tuning fork. I like to say you hit the tuning fork and it just ums. And if you're feeling that humming, that's a clue. That's a clue that something's there that maybe you're supposed to lean into or develop a little more.
Yeah, it's interesting that as a parent, with our 3 kids, ever since they were little bitty, we wanted to make sure they failed. So we would often put them in positions we knew they were going to fail, because when they're little, around our family, we always say ice cream makes everything fine. So whatever happened, they don't win, they didn't get picked, the team loses. Let's go get ice cream now. The world's great, So kind of exposing that earlier on, but also I think having a goal. So for ours, it was always about what's something you want to achieve, whether it's work or, athletics, school, social, spiritual, whatever it is, what's that goal? And I found that people with goals tend to reach them and tend to expand them. It's those who kind of are out there trying to accomplish something but not know what that is. And again, we see that with business owners. Oh, well, I want to be successful. Okay, well, what does that mean? And well, this or that. Well, let's dig into that. And really having those kind of waypoints or targets to hit, and then you just expand from there. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, I agree with you. The whole goal piece is, look, I have business goals. I have spiritual goals. I have goals in what I call 5 circles of life: spiritual, family, financial, business, and personal, which could be broken down to different areas as well. And they tell you, shoot for the moon, you might hit the stars, right? Even if you're shooting for the moon, you still have to have today's goal, tomorrow's goal, next week's goal to get to that bigger goal. And like I'm considered global. I'm thinking 20 years out. I'm thinking, hey, what's life look like? What's business look like? What's family look like 20 years out? So it's a little harder for me to plan today's goal, tomorrow's goal, and the little incremental goals to get to the bigger goal.
Do you ever have to have an internal conversation with yourself? Like, wait, who am I to be giving this advice? Like, do you have to ever give your own self a, kind of pep talk, if you will, as you're going through, whether it's a podcast or you're writing or like, what does that look like?
I frequently coach myself. And so like the book that I wrote, sometimes if I'm going through like a funk or a lower time, a challenging time, I'm like, I need to read my book and take my own advice. And it's a coaching thing. And I guess the idea with awareness is we all have a level of awareness. How do you increase it? But when you are at a level of awareness, I may say something negative and I'm like, Rob, where did that come from? Or if I make an insecure comment, I'll pause. I'm like, why did you feel the need to say that? Where did that come from? What's the story you're telling yourself to have had to say that or believe that or think that?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to go to our hot or not segment. So this section, we're going to throw out a bunch of topics. Tell us, it's hot in the industry, it's hot in kind of for business owners, or it's not. If you want to expand on it a little bit as well, that'll be great.
Okay.
All right. So I'll start off. Kind of that sleep until you're dead, wait till you're dead to sleep mentality. Go, go, go all the time.
Just say hot or not.
Yeah. Hot or not.
What I believe or what this
Elaborate.
society
But your beliefs.
Okay, I thought this was a one single thing. So I used to believe that.
Okay.
I used to believe that, and now, because I used to put my identity in, like, I got to be the guy that makes things happen. I used to take pride in the fact that I could function on 4 or 4.5 hours of sleep. That was my ego talking. That was just my ego. When people would say, hey, Rob's up at 4 o'clock in the morning doing push-ups, or he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning planning his day, and I would buy into that. And then I'm like, what are you trying to prove?
Yeah.
What are you trying to prove? If I'm getting less sleep, I'm probably going to die earlier if I stay that course. I'm going to be more stressed. So I think that's a hot topic in societal terms. Yeah. Personally, I've switched gears on that.
Good.
So social media, obviously, we're using that, venue right now. Do you ever detox, hot or not, social media detox?
Hot.
Hot?
I like to try the other reverse of that. but I like some people say, they'll be like, oh, I can't be on social media. I'm not on social media anymore. But I think in some respect, we need to be for businesses if it functions off of that.
Yeah.
But hot is my answer.
All right.
Very true.
Accountability partners.
Hot. Without a doubt. I think we all need them. Can I elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
So I like the word accountability, and there's a piece of it that I don't like. I'd rather use the word capable. So I want to hold you capable to according to what your gifts and the talents are. Right? If I do that, I guess you are holding somebody accountable. Yeah. But what are you capable of? Like, I like to hold myself capable. I am capable of doing this. Well, let's do it.
Yeah. How about building in public? You have about people that are raw and exposed and they film every aspect of their life as they're working on a project or a book. Or do you choose to do that kind of, behind closed doors, like you said, when you're meditating and then it comes to fruition? Or do you feel like building in public and being exposed along the way is a hot or not topic?
For me, it's a not. For society, it might be a hot. Am I answering that? I understand.
Well,
that.
this is for you.
This is you.
This is your opinion.
In my opinion,
It's not a quiz.
right, but I know I feel like society thinks one thing, and I might think another.
That's right.
Like I do these posts almost every day, and it's just a topic that might come to my mind. I just did one earlier about priorities. Okay, the most common thing you hear people say when they're asked if they can do something or not, or if they did something, is, "I'm too busy." And if you're too busy to do that certain thing, then you just didn't make it a priority.
Yeah.
So is it a priority? So I put that out there on social media, and it's something I just thought about. And sometimes I struggle with it because I'll say I'm just too busy. But that is if it's not a priority. If I didn't make it a priority, then I can't use this excuse it was too busy.
Yeah. So same thing with really quitting a business, and maybe you've done this or a journey that you've started that it no longer aligns with, it takes on a different form. So would you say hot or not? Like stick with it, start what you finish, which a lot of us are told by parents as we're growing up, or is it okay, I've realized that I've exhausted this measure and time to quit?
I think if you have that level of awareness and you know it's not in alignment anymore, like you said, I love that word, by the way, then it's time to quit.
Family meetings.
I've only had a few over the years. I think they could be overblown. I think one-on-one conversations are better.
Okay. It's interesting because Annette's looking at me. So I've got 2 kids in college and one's a sophomore in high school. So we have a family Zoom night every Sunday night, 8:00. So what I found with the one-on-ones, I'll talk to my daughter, or my wife will talk to her, my son, but it's always a one-on-one. It didn't have what I missed most when our kids went off to school was we had every breakfast and every dinner together. That regardless sports, it could be 10:30 at night, we eat as a family. And I miss sitting around the dinner table talking. So we started doing a family Zoom every Sunday night. Everybody gets on their own computer, we Zoom in, and what I found was the conversations are so much more like sitting around the kitchen table talking.
I love that idea. In fact, I
Yeah.
might steal that from you.
Yeah, it has been. We started doing this when our second one went off to college, and absolutely the best thing I think we do as a family because you're back together. Everybody's picking on each other, kind of talking, and it's everybody's back home kind of feel, and we really enjoy that. Yeah,
You just reminded me of the days. Like I think the old school days was every Sunday families got together and ate dinner together.
yeah,
And like we've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
So I love the idea.
yeah. Good.
So how about, because you're more or less, a coach, right? A lifestyle coach. How about, for you personally, investing in a, business development coach of your own, hot or not, when you're in the business of doing it?
I think everybody needs a coach.
Okay,
Everybody should have a coach.
perfect.
And the best golfers in the world, the best basketball players in the world, the best baseball players, they all have a coach.
Great.
So following up on that, not quite hot or not, but is there one kind of daily non-negotiable for you? Is there something that regardless, this is what I do on a daily basis, or I'll never do?
I have non-negotiables. I have a series of like 5 or 6 non-negotiables I do every day.
Okay.
You get up and read scripture. I journal, a gratitude journal, then a journal where I just write in. I write notes 8 notes every day, Monday through Friday. I write, but that's non-negotiable, and the meditation.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. We speak with people all the time, and you hear, everyone's driven. Everyone's got, enthusiasm for doing this, or they're excited, and hey, your excitement in what you're trying to do is going to lead to that success. We found it's less about that and much more about the discipline side of it, and having those routines that this is what we do. My kids laugh. I am such a creature of habit. If it's Sunday night, this is what I do. I'm one of those weird people. Monday's my favorite day of the week. Most people say, Friday or Saturday. Monday is my favorite day of the week because I've got it all planned out. I know what I'm going to do. I have some control over it, and it's my ability to get things done. So
I think that's great because it's the disciplines that people think the word discipline is a restrictive word or like a disciplinary, it's a punishment. But if we discipline ourselves to budget over time, we're going to have wealth.
Yep.
And I think that's great. I also think of you maybe think of something else is like the less is more thing. Less, like I used to be a guy that I would take my day timer, I had a handwritten day timer, and I'd make sure there was no white space. And I'm constantly running and running and rushing and running to the next thing, And I used to take pride that I'm like, Rob, you got to slow time down. That clock's going to keep ticking. It's never going to stop ticking. But how can we slow time down in the time we have to be in the moment, to be present and not be rushed all the time? So I'm totally guilty of that.
And to that point, do you know your boundaries and limits where you would ultimately turn down what could be a lucrative opportunity because you say, my plate is too full?
I'm learning. I can't say that if something happened today, I would totally 100% say, no, I'm not doing it. It's Rob, what's important? What's important? Where does it align?
Right.
You said earlier.
Yeah.
It is like they say, when your values are clear, your decisions are easy.
Yeah.
So that's about alignment.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we're going to switch it up. We're going to move to our last segment. We like to call this Plead the Fifth. So you have one get out of jail free card, so use it wisely.
How many other questions do I have here?
Not going to tell you.
We're not going to tell you. We're going to keep firing them at you, and basically you can choose to use your get out of jail free, or you can elaborate. We won't be too tough on you. So I'll start out. Do you feel like it is harder to admit burnout or insecurity?
I can do both. That's why I said what I've learned over the years is like I was the guy, one of 7 kids, grew up in the city. You got to be the tough guy. And then I was 34 years old when I learned the word transparency and how strong that is and not how weak it is. So I think it's easier for me to say that I'm insecure about something, but I will tell you if I'm burning out or I'm overloaded, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So I'm good with either one.
Okay.
What's the cost of ambition people don't talk about?
It's like the intrinsic cost. It's like the stress. I think it's the cost of stress that you create physically and mentally. And I think that I could attest to that. Like I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I'm learning more and more every day. But like I could fall asleep like that, but I don't stay asleep because my mind's always spinning, and I'm always thinking about the next thing. I'm worried about this. But if I can get to a place where I'm content and ambitious in the same arena,
Yeah.
that would be a huge accomplishment. And then that ambition doesn't take its toll on you. But it's like being in that moment. But I think the cost of ambition, if it's overdriven, physically, aches and pains, the stress, and they say stress is a silent killer, right? Your blood numbers will go up.
Yeah.
I learned that. Your blood numbers will go up if you don't control that.
For sure. I mean, do you feel like high achievers, yourself being a high achiever, do you feel that most high achievers secretly fear just being average?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think they do fear being average or fear of failure, or the whole identity thing. People are going to see me in a way that I don't want them to see me.
Have you ever told a business owner you didn't think they were going to make it?
I don't know that I have.
Okay.
I don't know that I have. I mean, I don't want to. I don't need to plead the fifth one.
I'm with you.
Because I think you said something earlier. You let your kids fail.
Yeah.
And it might be not telling a business owner they're not going to make it. Maybe it'd be like, yeah, I can use my real estate business for example. If somebody makes an offer, I can sit there and say you're not going to get that deal.
Yeah.
Because you didn't come to the table with an aggressive enough offer or so on and so forth. But I can't sit here and say that I've told a business owner you're not going to make it.
Okay.
Okay. What's one regret, perhaps, that you carry forward from early in your career?
Gosh, there's a couple things. I think of like from a sports perspective. I tell people I wanted to play professional baseball, and I had 2 fundamental problems. My dad was 5'3", my mom was 5'2". Now you see the smaller players in the leagues now, but I wish from a sports thing, I wish I would have played football. I'm a little guy, but I love football and I like running. But that's just from a sports thing. From a personal thing, I just feel like one of the regrets I have is that I wish I would have learned to believe in myself at an earlier age.
Okay.
Okay. Great answer.
Who's harder to help? Someone without balance in their life or someone without perspective on themselves?
I'm going to say this from a balance perspective. You said somebody without balance. And the way I'll answer that is that we're never balanced, ED, because we're always balancing.
Yep.
All right, so there's a difference between the ED and the ING. And so I think the perspective people have thinking they can reach this place of total balance is the wrong perspective. So I think, just to answer your question as we're talking along here, I think it's harder to get people to have perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. We in our industry, in our business, and I think just in life, we always say the problem's not the problem. The problem's not knowing what the problem is. And I think that's where that perspective comes in, is once you can kind of identify a problem, then you have the ability to go fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Very true. What's one of the best decisions that you've made in the last 5 years?
In the last 5 years, I want to take doing the podcast because I was going to say the book, but the book's been 6 or 7 years.
All right.
But I learned so much from that. But one of the things, I love the idea that I followed through with that. I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was doing, and it's just been, oh my gosh, I've learned so much from the content, but the relationships that I've built over the last 5 years with people. In a million years, I wouldn't have thought that Rob was good enough to have relationships with these people, and whether it's the Brian Buffini of the real estate world or Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, I'm like, I could text the guy right now, and I'm like, I have a relationship with these people. So Bob Bodine, so many different people, because of that decision, like last year, my word of the year was relationships. Right? The theme of the year, I should say, was the relationships that I built was so awesome. And we live in a world that I think we don't put the value in relationships that we should put in. And I'm a relational guy. And I love the idea of the relationships I've built over the years.
Perfect.
You survived. You didn't have to plead the fifth. So good job.
Give me some harder. That's it?
That's it. That part's easy.
Okay.
So I know, we just want a couple little follow-up. Let me ask you this. One piece of wisdom you wish someone had given you when you started your business that would have made a huge impact earlier on?
To not expect to be perfect when you start. You're like I said earlier, and I used the word suck, but you're when you first start something, it's the worst you're going to be. Right? So the wisdom from that is don't have fear of the idea that it's not going to be good. The first video I ever did, I'm like, that was awful. But you learn and you go and you grow and keep going for that.
And I would say, like, as your, kids, obviously they're grown for the most part, but as you start to get grandkids and, time goes on, when they look back, how do you want them to remember you? Is it the author? Is it the podcaster? Is it the best dad, the husband, the business owner? Like, what's most important, or all a little bit of each?
Because I think of the word essence. What's that essence I want them to see me as? Because I might get teary-eyed here, but I just think back. My daughter was 13 years old, and I was just overdriven guy, and I was like, you need to read this, and you need to do that. You need to. When you tell somebody they need to, they hear I'm broken and you're trying to fix me. And I'll never forget, I was trying to push it on my kids, and one night my daughter walks into my office, and she says, Dad, pick me out a book to read. I'm like, why is that? Because I see what you're doing, and you're so positive, and you're having success, and I just want to start reading these books. Picked out a John Gordon book, and then she ended up reading 7 John Gordon books over the next 3 or 4 months. And in the fall of that year, she was playing in a soccer game. It was a tournament. They won the first game. They had to win a second game to get to the championship. No ties. So it was a tie after the game, the second game. So then you go to the penalty kicks. She ends up scoring the goal that wins the game with her penalty shot. And in my mind, I'm like thinking, were you nervous? Were you scared when you're setting the ball up on the 12-yard line to take your kick? So I asked her after the game, I put my arm around her and I said, were you nervous? And she said, no, not at all. And I said, what were you thinking when you set that ball up? And she said, I was thinking about all the books you had me read. And so if we can have that impact on our kids, just to be an example first, not to push things on them, and have to be that example that they see what you're going through and what you're learning, how you're growing, even through the struggles, and they take that on. I want them, that's how I want them to remember the dad that encouraged and inspired and was the example that they needed to see to get where they needed to go.
Thank you.
Yep.
I need tissues now.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, thank you for being so vulnerable. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's maybe one of your toughest internal battles?
The imposter syndrome.
Okay.
I'm not good enough, smart enough, or who's going to want to listen to me or believe what I have to say. I think everybody battles that, and I don't care. I should say that what's the word, nonchalantly, but I think everybody battles that imposter syndrome, no matter where you are in that level of success. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever have a day where you were like, you had a bad podcast or the words didn't come out right, or you had a bad day journaling and you thought, I'm just shutting it all down. I'm just going to move forward and, go into the next thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten off podcasting like, maybe that wasn't really good, or people are going to want to listen to that one. And I remember one I'm like, I don't know if that's that good. I put it out there, and next thing you know, I'm getting all this positive feedback. So it's like it's like you might have this thought. It's like, where is that story coming from? That's the question I ask myself. Why are you telling yourself that story? Because a lot of times the stories we tell ourselves aren't true.
Yeah.
Very true. And we're all more interconnected than we realize
Absolutely.
on most days, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, this has been wonderful. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this and really helping, again, kind of the honesty that comes with this and understanding that, again, success and ambition is important, but there's a lot of things that come with that, to the good and to the bad, and trying to really, as you try to grow a business, as you grow in a practice, as you grow in a family, that their successes, their failures, you got to learn from both. And having that kind of clarity on what each is really, really important. So I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. This was
Absolutely. And to our listeners, if you haven't checked it out already, it's Chiseled,
Chisel.
Robert Commodari. And how do they find it exactly? So we can.
Go on Spotify, Apple. They're on there. Just I would say go Chiseled with Rob Commodari, or you could go Chiseled. We're all work in progress. Either one of those two will get you to where you need to go to see it. So thank you so much for
Rob, thanks for joining Behind the Frame. We were happy to have you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much.